Chosen one, let your heart grow still for a moment. What you are walking into is not an accident of timing or a matter of coincidence. This hour has been carved into the fabric of your journey, marked by an unseen hand that knew what you would need before you had the language to ask for it. Tomorrow may look like another sunrise to the world, but for you and your daughter, it signals a threshold, an inner crossing, subtle yet unmistakable. You have been prepared for this. She has been carried toward it. And together, you are stepping into an appointed moment that was whispered long before either of you arrived here. This is not about drama or spectacle. It is about recognition. A holy appointment is less about what changes outside and more about what aligns within. Your spirit is already sensing the shift. Those late-night aches that felt like worry were actually signals of invitation. Heaven has been brushing against your awareness, reminding you that your role is not to fix every detail of her story, but to stand as a gatekeeper of atmosphere, a watcher of thresholds, a steward of timing. You are not just parenting a daughter, you are covering a destiny. Pause here and notice how even the word gatekeeper feels different. It doesn't carry the weight of control. It carries the dignity of trust. A gatekeeper does not wrestle with every traveler. They simply discern what passes and what does not. You, chosen one, have been entrusted with the threshold of her life. You are not called to script her steps, but to safeguard the space where her true steps unfold. That is why this moment feels heavier than others. It is because heaven is reminding you, your authority is not in micromanagement, but in presence, not in forcing outcomes, but in recognizing what is holy. And tomorrow, the signals will begin to reveal themselves more clearly. It may come in the softness of her voice carrying new conviction, or in the quiet courage of her choices that once would have rattled her. You will see it not as rebellion but as revelation, and in that recognition your role shifts. You stop asking, "How do I control this?" and begin declaring, "How do I bless this?" The holy appointment always involves both of you. She carries the mantle of her own calling, but your covering provides the atmosphere in which it grows without distortion. Think of it like a garden. She is the seed-breaking ground, but you are the one who has kept the soil soft, the weeds pulled, the roots nourished. Without your unseen labor, this sprouting would be harder. And now the appointment is arriving, not just for her to stand taller, but for you to finally see the fruit of your endurance. Do not let fear confuse you. Appointments of heaven are not meant to intimidate, they are meant to confirm. If your heart trembles tonight, let it tremble with awe, not dread, because tomorrow marks not an end, but a beginning. This is the appointed hour where your daughter remembers who she has always been, and you recognize the sacredness of your role, not as fixer, but as faithful gatekeeper. What rises now will carry both your fingerprints and God's signature. That is the nature of legacy-woven threads of obedience and grace meeting in one appointed moment, and that moment is here. Chosen one, pause and consider the unseen weight you already carry. It is not the weight of burden, but of mantle. A mantle is not something you strive to hold. It is something heaven lays upon you because you have been found faithful. Your daughter's awakening is tied to this mantle, and though it rests on her life, it also stretches across yours. Think of the mantle as a covering, an invisible fabric of authority and blessing, not authority to control, but to guard, not blessing to force, but to nurture. When you speak over her life, those words ripple in ways you may not fully perceive. The mantle is evidence that heaven takes your declarations seriously. That is why you must learn to name it rightly. Too many confuse covering with control, thinking their role is to dictate every step. But chosen one, control crushes what covering was meant to protect. The mantle you bear is softer, yet stronger. It doesn't tighten around her like chains. It rests above her like shade, shielding her growth while allowing her roots to find depth in freedom. Begin to see your blessing speech as the conduit through which this mantle flows. Every time you choose to speak life instead of criticism, blessing instead of fear, you activate a layer of that covering. It is as though your words weave a shelter of light around her spirit. She may not always recognize it, she may not always thank you for it, but heaven registers it. Those blessings accumulate like dew on grass, nourishing her even when she does not notice. And in this season, her identity is surfacing with holy boldness. The mantle she carries is not random. It was prepared for her spirit long before her body ever arrived in this world. You may have seen glimpses, the way she senses atmosphere, the way her compassion cuts through noise, the way her words carry weight beyond her years. These are not personality quirks, they are signs of mantle. Yet for that mantle to be worn well, your role as gatekeeper matters. You do not place it on her shoulders, but you recognize when it settles. You do not force her into it, but you bless her courage to stand beneath its weight. Let your speech align with that recognition. Speak life into her voice when it trembles. Call forth her strength when she feels fragile. Remind her that boldness is not rebellion but revelation. In doing so, you model the difference between parental fear and spiritual discernment. Fear tries to silence what it does not understand. Discernment blesses what it perceives as holy, even when it feels unfamiliar. Chosen one, you are being asked to trust that her mantle may look different than yours. That is not a threat to your legacy, it is the expansion of it. A cloak can be passed, but it can also be multiplied. The mantle on you now rests on her too, not as a copy but as a continuation. Where you prayed in silence, she may speak with clarity. Where you endured in shadow, she may shine in light. The covering remains the same, but its expression evolves. So name the mantle with courage. Declare it aloud in your private prayers. Bless it when you sense her struggling under its new weight. Remind her she was not called fragile, she was called chosen. And as you do, you will discover that your own mantle is not lessened in her rising. It is magnified, for the mantle of a parent who blesses becomes the soil where generations flourish. This is the moment to shift your language. Stop rehearsing fears. Begin rehearsing blessings, because the words you choose now will echo in her spirit tomorrow. And tomorrow is already prepared. Chosen one, now is the hour to sharpen your sight. What heaven is unfolding in your daughter will not always appear in grand displays. More often, it emerges as whispers, subtle but undeniable. If you wait for fireworks, you may overlook the quiet dawn. The early signs of her awakening are already forming, and your role as gatekeeper is to notice them, bless them, and not mislabel them. One of the first signs will be her voice. It may not sound louder, but clearer. Pay attention to how she begins to articulate her thoughts with a new steadiness, as though clarity is seeping into her words. Where once there was hesitation, now there will be a calm authority. Do not confuse this with defiance. Revelation often wears the disguise of bold speech, and to those who are unprepared, it looks like rebellion, but to you, it will feel like recognition. That steadiness is not defiance rising, it is destiny remembering itself. Another sign is her peace, not the fragile peace that shatters under pressure, but a deeper calm that endures, even when circumstances remain imperfect. She may surprise you by no longer reacting the way she once did to old triggers. This is not indifference, it is holy composure, a fruit of her spirit maturing, not the hardening of her heart. If you see her carrying serenity in situations that once shook her, do not dismiss it, bless it. That peace is evidence that heaven is weaving resilience into her fabric. There will also be a boldness that catches you off guard. She may ask questions she never dared to before. She may take steps that seem risky or unfamiliar. The world will call it stubbornness, but listen deeper. Boldness born of revelation does not tear down, it builds. It does not rebel for attention, it stands firm for alignment. As her gatekeeper, test her boldness with one question: does it carry the fruit of love, wisdom, and truth? If yes, then what you are witnessing is not rebellion but revelation. These early signs are heaven's way of sending confirmations. They are not meant to confuse you, but to steady you. Yet discernment is required. Revelation always arrives wrapped in tension, tension between what she has been and what she is becoming. The untrained eye mistakes this tension as instability, but you, chosen one, must train your vision to see differently. Tension in transition is proof of transformation. Do not rush her through these signs. Let them bloom in their timing. The sprout does not become a tree overnight, yet each leaf is evidence of life. Similarly, each small shift in her speech, her peace, her courage, is proof that heaven's hand is at work. Whisper blessings when you notice them. Smile in quiet agreement with the unseen. Let her feel your recognition not through lectures but through presence. You may also notice the warfare trying to twist these signs. Her clarity may be misinterpreted by others as arrogance. Her peace may be called apathy. Her boldness may be labeled as disrespect. But do not accept those labels. Counter them with blessing. Speak. This is not arrogance. This is wisdom finding its voice. This is not apathy. This is holy calm. This is not disrespect. This is revelation unfolding. That, by naming the signs rightly, you protect her from confusion, and in protecting her, you train your own sight to see through heaven's lens. This is how revelation grows, by being recognized. The early signs are not the whole story, but they are enough to assure you that everything is indeed shifting. So lean in. Watch for the steadying of her tone, the resting of her spirit, the courage of her steps. These are heaven's fingerprints on her soul. And as you see them, let your heart echo back what heaven is already saying. She is not lost, she is being found, not in the world's definition, but in heaven's design. Chosen one, let's name the truth few dare to embrace. The greatest strategy you hold for your daughter's awakening is not control, but surrender. This does not mean abandonment. It does not mean indifference. It means loosening your grip on what was never yours to command, and leaning into the trust that heaven's orchestration is more precise than your best planning. Surrender is not passivity. It is active trust. It is choosing to believe that the unseen hand shaping her steps knows the terrain far better than your map. You may feel the urge to interfere, to rescue, to correct every misstep, but chosen one, sometimes your intervention delays what her process was designed to teach. Surrender allows lessons to settle in her spirit at the depth they were intended. Think of surrender as breathing out what you cannot carry. Every time you release fear, you make space for clarity. Every time you release control, you make room for grace. This is why surrender feels heavy. At first, it demands that you unclench your fists around outcomes. Yet once you release, a strange calm rushes in. Heaven was not asking you to abandon her. Heaven was asking you to trust the vine that already holds her. Remember the image of branches and fruit. A branch does not produce by straining, it produces by abiding. The fruit grows naturally when the branch stays connected. Your daughter is a branch, and so are you. Both of you are connected to the same vine. That connection ensures growth. Surrender means you stop trying to force the fruit, and instead keep her rooted in the source. When you surrender, you silence fear's voice. Fear will whisper that if you don't manage every detail, disaster will follow. But surrender whispers louder. If you release, the designer will handle what you cannot. Fear chains, surrender frees, and your daughter will feel the difference. When she senses that you trust her process, she will begin to trust her own voice more deeply. When she feels you covering her without smothering her, her wings will stretch wider. Chosen one, surrender also dismantles cycles. Perhaps you grew up in an atmosphere where control masqueraded as love, where every choice was dictated, leaving little room for trust. But this is your opportunity to write a new chapter. You are modeling a love that covers without crushing, a faith that guides without gripping. This breaks generational patterns. Your surrender today plants freedom into her tomorrow. Do not mistake surrender for silence. It is not about withdrawing your voice. It is about calibrating it. You still speak, but with blessing, not fear. You still advise, but with trust, not suspicion. You still guide, but with gentleness, not control. Surrender reframes your presence from enforcer to encourager, from commander to companion, and in that shift, she feels the mantle as gift, not as weight. This is why surrender is strategy. It confuses the enemy who expected you to fight in your own strength. It steadies your daughter, who learns to rise under grace rather than pressure, and it honors heaven, who invited you not to be her savior, but her covering. So tonight, let your prayer be simple. I release what is not mine to hold. I trust what I cannot see. I bless what is already unfolding. With those words, you disarm fear and align with timing. This is not losing control. This is gaining alignment, and alignment is always stronger than striving. Tomorrow, as the threshold unfolds, remember, surrender is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is not absence. It is presence refined. And through that surrendered posture, you will watch your daughter rise into spaces neither of you could have forced, but both of you were destined to enter. Chosen one, it is one thing to bless the holy hush, to name the mantle, to notice the early signs, and even to surrender. But you must also prepare for resistance, because every awakening draws pressure. Every rising attracts friction, and the clearer your daughter's light becomes, the more the shadows will attempt to confuse, distort, or weary her path. This is not failure, it is confirmation. You may notice the resistance in her body first. Fatigue that comes without clear reason, a heaviness in her eyes even after rest. These are not always natural alone. Often, they are spiritual pushback. The atmosphere itself resists when someone aligns with truth. Do not panic when you see this. Instead, discern. Recognize that weariness does not mean weakness. It means she is carrying weight beyond the visible. The resistance may also appear in relationships. People who once overlooked her may suddenly oppose her. Voices that once ignored her may start to critique her. This is because revelation unsettles those still clinging to illusion. Her newfound clarity will challenge their comfort. Some will mislabel her, calling her rebellious, arrogant, or distant. But you, chosen one, must remember what was spoken. Revelation wears the disguise of rebellion. Test her spirit, not her tone. If her words carry love, wisdom, and truth, bless them, even if others do not understand. And yes, resistance will press against you as well. Mental battles that come without context. Emotional weight that seems out of proportion. Strange exhaustion at moments when you should feel strong. This is not random. The warfare against her often spills into your atmosphere because the bond between you is not merely natural, it is spiritual. Do not let it break your confidence. The resistance is not evidence that heaven has abandoned you. It is proof that heaven has chosen you. So how do you respond when resistance pushes back? With a warfare that does not mirror the attack but transforms it. Name the fear. Do not let it linger unnamed. Say aloud, "This fear does not own me." Bless the person, even if they misunderstand. Speak. May light cover them. Anchor the boundary. Protect your atmosphere with a firm yes to peace and a gentle no to chaos. Then return to center, remembering that your strength is not in wrestling shadows but in standing under light. Chosen one, resistance is not the end of the story. It is the birth pangs of breakthrough. The very pressure you feel is shaping both of you into vessels capable of holding more glory. Think of it like the forge. The flame that softens also strengthens. The hammer that strikes also shapes. Resistance refines. And because you endure it together, it becomes the proof of alignment. Take courage then. Do not misinterpret the shaking. It does not mean collapse. It means something unshakable is being established. When you see her weary, bless her rest. When you feel misunderstood, bless your endurance. When the atmosphere thickens with confusion, bless clarity aloud. In doing so, you disarm the resistance. You remind both yourself and her that what heaven has spoken cannot be reversed. Tomorrow's threshold is not fragile, it is fortified. Resistance may push, but it cannot cancel what has already been appointed. Stand firm, chosen one, for in the very place where the pressure feels heaviest, the evidence of transformation is strongest. Chosen one, pause and breathe this truth. What is happening in your daughter is not only about her. It is about the legacy thread that runs through your bloodline, weaving unseen patterns across time. This awakening is not a single moment to be celebrated and then forgotten. It is a generational recalibration, stretching backward to redeem what was lost, and forward to prepare what is yet unborn. Your hidden prayers are the soil of this moment. Every tear you shed in silence, every late-night battle where you whispered her name into heaven's ear, became water for a seed. That seed now rises in her. What you carried in private is manifesting in public. And because you endured, her breakthrough is not isolated, it is multiplied. The soil you tended will feed not just her roots, but the roots of generations to come. Think of legacy as a thread. It does not break when a season ends. It ties every sacrifice, every act of faith, every whispered blessing into a rope strong enough to pull entire families into alignment. That is what is happening now. Her awakening is tugging on the thread, and in that tug, echoes of your ancestors' prayers are being answered. The battles they could not finish are being resolved through her rising. The dreams they could not articulate are finding voice through her. Do not underestimate the weight of this. What looks like her personal transformation is, in truth, a generational shift. Patterns of silence are being broken. Cycles of fear are dissolving. Wounds carried in silence are being healed through her words, her choices, her courage. And this is not coincidence, it is design. Heaven entrusted you with her life because your endurance would create the conditions for this moment. Without your resilience, the thread may have frayed. With your faith, it now strengthens. Legacy does not erase the scars, it redeems them. The disappointments you endured, the battles you fought, the seasons you thought were wasted, they are now fuel for her journey. The very places you wept are the places she will stand taller. The places you were misunderstood are the very places her voice will bring clarity. Nothing is wasted in legacy, everything is folded into purpose. And yet, chosen one, legacy is not one-directional. As she rises, you will feel your own spirit stirred again. Dreams you buried may reawaken. Strength you thought was gone may return. Her breakthrough becomes your restoration. Legacy threads both ways. She benefits from your endurance, and you receive renewal from her awakening. This is not competition, it is communion. Two generations tied to the same rope, pulling heaven's promises into the earth together. So, when you witness her stepping into spaces you once longed for, do not let sadness whisper that you are being left behind. You are not. You are being included. Her rising is your reward. Her clarity is your confirmation. Her voice is your vindication. This is the mystery of legacy. It multiplies rather than divides. Chosen one, tomorrow's threshold is not just her moment. It is a family's inheritance, a bloodline shift, a weaving together of prayers whispered across time into a tapestry finally visible. And you stand at the center of it, not just as parent, but as gatekeeper of legacy, watching heaven turn your endurance into generational breakthrough. Chosen one, legacy does not rest only in inspiration, it must be anchored in practice. A gatekeeper is not passive. A gatekeeper prepares, blesses, and watches with discernment. Heaven has entrusted you with more than vision, it has entrusted you with stewardship. And stewardship is strengthened by rhythm, ritual, and practice. Begin with daily blessing. Set aside moments, morning, evening, or both, to speak life into your daughter's atmosphere. This does not require long speeches. Sometimes the most powerful declaration is simple. Peace surrounds you, or your voice carries weight, or you are protected. Words spoken with consistency weave unseen fabric. They become a shield stronger than suspicion, and a comfort deeper than explanation. Create atmosphere at home. The mantle over her life grows best, where peace outweighs chaos. That does not mean perfection, it means intention. Light a candle while you pray. Play music that reminds the spirit to rest. Keep words in your space that reflect trust, not fear. When she enters that atmosphere, even if she cannot name it, she will feel covered. Practice listening more than speaking. Gatekeepers do not flood the threshold with noise. They observe, discern, and respond when needed. Your daughter may not always ask for counsel, but she will notice you're listening. When you give her silence pregnant with attention, you communicate trust. And in that trust, she finds courage to share more than she would under interrogation. Honor timing. Not every conversation must happen now. Sometimes the holiest act is to wait until the soil of her heart is ready. Trust that heaven orchestrates timing better than urgency. When you sense resistance, step back. When you sense openness, step forward gently. Timing can turn the same word from heavy burden to healing balm. Establish gentle checkpoints. Without control, you can still invite accountability. A simple question, how are you feeling about this choice? Signals care without smothering. Offering presence instead of pressure allows her to process aloud without fear of judgment. Gatekeeping is not about building walls around her. It is about keeping doors open for dialogue. Do not underestimate the power of written blessings. Place notes where she will find them, words of affirmation, reminders of identity, whispers of prayer. Even if she does not respond immediately, the words will echo later. Seeds planted in writing often bloom when the heart is ready. And chosen one, guard your own spirit. A weary gatekeeper cannot protect with clarity. Rest is not indulgence, it is obedience. Create space for your own renewal. Read words that anchor you. Spend time in quiet, where your own heart is recentered. The mantle you carry requires replenishment. If you neglect yourself, the gate grows weak. If you remain nourished, the gate remains strong. These practices may seem simple, but they carry weight. Blessing, atmosphere, listening, timing, checkpoints, written words, and rest. Each is a tool. Together, they become a rhythm of stewardship that keeps the mantle from slipping into control or neglect. You are not called to perfection. You are called to presence. The practices of a gatekeeper are not about flawless performance, but about consistent alignment. Heaven is not looking for a show, it is looking for faithfulness. And faithfulness is built in daily choices, not grand gestures. Chosen one, as tomorrow unfolds, let your practices echo your prayers. Let your rhythms speak as loudly as your words. For in these practices, the mantle you carry becomes visible, steady, and unshakable. Chosen one, the mantle of a gatekeeper is not just about blessing, it is also about boundaries. Covering without boundaries dissolves into chaos. Control without love hardens into oppression. But boundaries drawn with love create the sacred container where your daughter's awakening can unfold without distortion. First, understand this. Boundaries are not punishments. They are protections. A gate does not exist to imprison. It exists to keep out what would harm and to preserve what is holy within. When you establish a boundary, you are not rejecting her, you are protecting the soil where her purpose grows. She may not always see it that way immediately, but heaven sees. Begin by discerning what belongs and what does not. Ask yourself, does this voice, this habit, this influence feed her identity, or does it drain it? If it drains, close the gate. If it feeds, keep the way clear. Boundaries drawn in love do not restrict her becoming, they refine it. Communicate boundaries with clarity, not condemnation. Instead of saying, you can't be trusted with this, say, I want to protect what's rising in you. Replace restriction language with restoration language. Frame every boundary as alignment, not punishment. She may resist, but she will also feel the difference. Love that explains is more powerful than fear that controls. Boundaries also apply to your own posture. You must learn when to speak, and when to be silent, when to intervene and when to step back. Love does not demand constant presence. It honors space. If you hover, she cannot breathe. If you withdraw completely, she may stumble unguarded. Balance is the art of boundary. It says, I am here, but I will not smother. I will guide, but I will not grip. And chosen one, some boundaries will not be with her directly, but with others. You will need to discern who has access to her spirit. Not everyone who smiles means well. Not every opportunity is alignment. Part of your gatekeeping is quietly filtering what enters her atmosphere. This requires courage, because you may need to say no where others say yes. Do it anyway. Better a moment of misunderstanding than a lifetime of regret. Remember also to set boundaries around your own fears. Do not let anxiety speak louder than discernment. Fear would have you overprotect, mistrust, or mislabel. But love listens deeper. When you sense your worry rising, set a boundary with your own thoughts. I will not let fear interpret her awakening. I will choose blessing over suspicion. This is a discipline, but it reshapes the atmosphere of your home. Boundaries drawn with love create safety without suffocation. They are like riverbanks, strong, steady, guiding the current without stopping its flow. Your daughter is the river. She needs space to move, but also structure to protect. Without banks, the water floods and dissipates. With them, it finds direction and power. Chosen one, redraw your boundaries not as bars but as blessings. Speak them gently, hold them firmly, and always let love be the ink that outlines them. For when boundaries are rooted in love, even resistance becomes respect over time, and respect creates the trust through which destiny can flow freely. Chosen one, as awakening deepens, the pace will quicken. What once seemed stalled will suddenly move with surprising speed. Opportunities may appear without warning. Relationships may shift in a single conversation. Insights may arrive in her heart faster than either of you can process. This is the season of acceleration, but acceleration must be stewarded. For when momentum increases, the temptation is to either force it harder or fear it altogether. Grace has its own pace. It is not reckless, yet it is not sluggish. Grace accelerates when the soil is ready, when the roots are strong enough to carry the bloom. Your daughter is entering that season. What seemed delayed for years is now aligning swiftly. But here is the key. You must allow the speed without trying to manufacture it. Forcing only leads to burnout. Resisting only creates confusion. Allowing is the posture that keeps acceleration in alignment with heaven's timing. Think of it like a river thawing after winter. At first, the ice cracks slowly. Then the waters surge forward with force. You cannot hold back the thaw, nor should you try to push the river faster. Your role is to guide the flow to ensure it remains within safe banks, to trust that the current knows its course. This acceleration will touch many areas. Her voice will suddenly find authority. Ideas will come to her like rushing wind. New people will appear who recognize her calling, even when others overlooked it. Doors that were once shut will swing wide without explanation. These are signs of grace-paced speed. Celebrate them, but also ground them. Remind her that opportunities are not trophies. They are tests of stewardship. What opens quickly must still be walked through carefully. You may feel pressure too. Acceleration in her life often ripples into your own. Dreams you buried may stir again. Strength you thought was gone may reawaken. Do not dismiss these stirrings. They are evidence that grace is widening the riverbed for both of you. Yet even in your renewal, resist the urge to sprint ahead. Remember, acceleration is not about frenzy. It is about alignment. So how do you allow acceleration without forcing? Anchor rhythms of rest. Create pauses where peace can settle the rush. Encourage her to breathe between breakthroughs. Remind her that saying yes to every open door is not faith, it is exhaustion. True faith discerns which doors are hers to walk through and which are meant for others. Stay rooted in community. Isolation exaggerates pace. Community balances it. Share your observations with trusted voices who can help you both stay grounded. Do not carry acceleration alone. The mantle may rest on her shoulders, but the weight can be steadied by wise counsel around you. Most importantly, remind her often, speed does not define success. Faithfulness does. The vine does not measure fruit by how quickly it appears, but by whether it lasts. Her acceleration will be meaningful not because it was fast, but because it was true. Chosen one, tomorrow may bring surprises that feel like sudden leaps. Do not fear them. Do not try to force more of them. Allow what heaven allows. Pace yourselves with prayer, with rest, with discernment. For when acceleration is guided by grace, it becomes sustainable, and what begins quickly can endure eternally. Chosen one, there comes a time when the process must be named, when the awakening must be sealed not by accident but by intention. That time is now. Tomorrow is not just another page in her story. It is the chapter where identity is confirmed, where the unseen mantle becomes lived reality. And as her gatekeeper, you are invited to help seal this holy moment. To seal does not mean to control. It means to affirm, to recognize, to bless. Imagine it like the wax pressed upon a scroll, the message already written, the purpose already formed, but the seal ensuring it is preserved and acknowledged. Your daughter's identity is being unveiled before your eyes. She is not becoming someone new. She is remembering who she has always been in heaven's sight. Your role is to affirm this remembrance and to speak life into it so it remains unshaken by doubt. How do you seal identity? Through declaration. Stand in prayer or quiet presence and say aloud what you see in her spirit. You are strong, you are chosen, you are covered, you are free. These words, spoken not as wishes but as confirmations, root her deeper in the soil of her true self. She will carry them long after the moment passes, because blessing outlives circumstance. Sealing also comes through action. Consider creating a simple commissioning ritual. It may be as small as lighting a candle together, sharing a meal in silence, or writing a blessing for her future and placing it where she can return to it later. Rituals may seem ordinary, but they anchor the extraordinary. They give physical shape to what is unfolding spiritually. Chosen one, as you seal her new identity, you also step into your renewed purpose. This is not only about her rising, it is about your restoration as well. The endurance you carried, the prayers you whispered, the nights you stood alone, they are all being honored in this moment. Heaven is not bypassing you, it is including you. The mantle on her life reflects back the mantle on yours. Do not let comparison creep in. Her expression of calling will not look like yours, and that is exactly how it should be. Sealing the moment means releasing the need for sameness and celebrating the beauty of difference. Where your hands tilled the soil, her hands will reap the harvest. Where you endured in silence, she will speak in clarity. Both roles are sacred, both are essential. Sealing also means closing the door on false labels. Any name she was given that did not align with truth, too fragile, too intense, too much, must now be laid to rest. You carry authority to renounce those words, to declare that they no longer define her. Replace them with blessings, resilient, discerning, radiant, anointed. This act of renaming is not casual, it is spiritual warfare. It closes one chapter and opens another. And finally, chosen one. Sealing means standing in awe. Recognize that what you are witnessing is not the product of your effort alone, but the weaving of heaven's hand through your faithfulness. Your daughter's rise is evidence that legacy is alive, that prayers take root, that love endures. Let gratitude be your seal. Let reverence be your final act. Tomorrow, when you sense the shift, do not rush to explain it. Simply bless it. Declare aloud what you perceive, and in doing so, you mark the moment as holy, sealed not by chance but by choice. For once, identity is sealed in love. No storm can erase it, and no lie can undo it. Chosen one, Let the weight of these words rest gently on your spirit. You have walked through appointment, mantle, signs, surrender, resistance, legacy, practice, boundaries, acceleration, and sealing. Each layer has been preparing you, not for more pressure, but for release. What unfolds tomorrow is not the arrival of perfection, but the unveiling of alignment, and you are ready to meet it. Pause here. Breathe deeply. Let your shoulders drop. Let your heart steady. This moment is not about what you must do next. It is about what has already been done. Your endurance has been counted. Your tears have been gathered. Your prayers have been recorded. And now, heaven honors them through your daughter's awakening. You are not just a bystander. You are a participant in legacy. Every quiet night, every hidden act of faith, every whispered blessing was part of the architecture of this threshold. And now that threshold has arrived, not with noise, but with undeniable weight. As you move forward, release what you cannot carry, trust what you cannot see, bless what you now recognize, and let gratitude become your anchor. Gratitude that heaven chose you to be a gatekeeper. Gratitude that your daughter carries the fruit of your faithfulness. Gratitude that legacy is not just behind you, but alive in front of you. Carry this benediction with you. You are not late. You are not lacking. You are not forgotten. You are aligned. The same grace that guarded you now guards her. The same love that kept you standing now fuels her rising. And the same legacy that sustained you will multiply through her voice, her steps, her choices. Chosen one, let tomorrow come with reverence. Do not chase it. Do not fear it. Simply agree with it. For in your agreement, heaven's timing becomes earth's testimony. And in your daughter's awakening, your own soul will finally exhale.